What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here with Cheesehead TV and your Packers Daily Chat. Wherever you are on the internet, that's where we want to be. I hope you're having a good Monday, as good as a Monday can be. Although, Monday made a bit more bearable after the Bears lose to the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. That's right. Say it with me. The Bears still suck. It's not really a declaration. It's just a way of life. When you're the Chicago Bears, you will always continue to suck. Hello to everybody on the chat. Good to see everybody in a nice rousing conversation about Adam Gase and Josh McDaniels and Mike McCarthy. Good afternoon, everyone. I like Gase or McDaniels, but, Tim leaving us hanging there a little bit. McDaniels, Gase, Dan Campbell in that order. No love for the defensive prospects, really. I don't know, man. I'm kind of hoping one of these defensive guys gets a little bit of love. Why are teams shying away from Vic Fangio? P.S. The Bears still suck. Maybe the Bears still sucking has teams shying away from him. No, I'm kidding. Gaff, I can hear you, buddy. The Fangio, it's funny, I saw the Dolphins didn't get a chance to interview him like they were hoping to or wanted to, but outside of that, I think teams may, now that he's available, start to request interviews, but you never really know. I want LaFleur. There you go, Chris. It's a possibility. Definitely in the running. Bears won as many playoff games as the Packers in 2019. Thank you, Nick. Tom, it's very kind of you. Grassi Posse in the house. Keep up the great work. Nate, I will do my best. Why are people so adamant about Goody hiring the coach? Murphy is more qualified based on his background. Hillary, that's an excellent observation. Gutekunst has never hired a coach. Murphy has hired several, including Pat Fitzgerald at Northwestern. I understand it, though. From the outside looking in, I think most people, and even some media members, want someone or think someone who is involved in the day-to-day workings of the league is a bit more qualified to make the call as to which member of the league to bring in to be the head coach. Now, your point is very valid, though. And it's interesting because one of the things that I think gets overlooked, and one of my Twitter followers pointed this out, and I wanted to reiterate it in the chat, is the jump from being a coordinator and or even a college coach to an NFL head coach, but especially a play caller such as Josh McDaniels, LaFleur, etc. These guys who are great at what they do when it comes to designing an offense and implementing it on game day. The jump from that responsibility to overseeing the entire football operation, basically, at the NFL level, is so vast. It is so huge. It is such a monster difference in terms of responsibility, allocation of time and or resources, overseeing so many different aspects, so many different personalities, having to create an entire program. The jump from, like I said, designing an offense and coming up with how you're going to attack a defense, etc., to overseeing an entire football program at the NFL level, there are so many kind of new areas that you have to attack. Now, guys like Josh McDaniels, who have been a head coach before, or Adam Gase, clearly can draw from whatever they've learned from the first time around. So it's not to say that they can't do it, or those guys shouldn't be looked at or shouldn't be given consideration. But the jump for someone like LaFleur or some of these younger guys who have never been a head coach at the NFL level to go from calling plays, especially 1 year only of calling plays, to overseeing one of the storied franchises in the NFL, that's a big ask, a big jump. And I think that's why you're seeing guys like Mike Munchak get interviews, or Caldwell or Pagano, guys who have done it. Now, obviously, Munchak didn't do it for a very long time, but he did it in Tennessee. I think that's why you're seeing those types of interviews. And they are casting a wide net, and they are looking at guys who don't have NFL head coaching experience, because I think they want to make sure that they don't leave any stone unturned. But don't discount how important that could end up being. Now, maybe they hire someone who's never been an NFL head coach before. They certainly have that track record over the last 30, 20 years or so. The whole push by Ron Wolf when Mike Holmgren left was he wanted someone with head coaching experience. That was he was adamant about it. Ended up with Ray Rhodes, who he a year later decided was a mistake. So, there's no hard, true rule here, and I think they're trying to cover all their bases. But just try and keep that in mind when you're looking at these headlines and reading these stories about the prospects. And I know every website, every blog, every fan, we all have opinions, we all have things we like and things we're looking for and hoping for, etc. But ultimately, it's about the head of the football program in Green Bay, who is the best fit. And you hear Mark Murphy use that phrase a lot, and Gutekunst as well. The idea of who's the best fit for the Green Bay Packers. That encapsulates a whole lot, not just designing an offense or even getting Aaron Rodgers back on track, even though that is definitely a big component for whoever takes over the gig. It's just something to think about. I have no tried and true answer here. I have no, this is what they must do, but it's definitely in the background while the search is going on. Everything I'm hearing is Josh McDaniels, and I'm not sure that is a negative or positive. Nonetheless, if he is the coach, I will offer my support. What is your take on his candidacy? Well, Dale, something to remember, everything you're hearing is Josh McDaniels. That's very much driven by the news media, the internet cycle. We can't say with any kind of certainty who a favorite might be. And I know there are probably reports out there. I try and ignore all of that because, look, at the end of the day, the only human being on this earth who really knows who a favorite is Mark Murphy. And I have real trouble believing he's keeping loose counsel with that information. So while I know Josh McDaniels, his name has been bandied about a lot, including on this here website, on Cheesehead TV, it is most likely a fan-driven thing, a media-driven thing. It doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot when it comes to the actual candidacies for these guys interviewing for the job. Who would be, Danny asks, who would be your choice for the next head coach? I want Flores out of New England. I want a defensive guy. Bring in a hotshot young coordinator to go with him. Take the league by storm. I don't know. I kind of just want someone that we're not expecting. It would be kind of fun to watch Twitter burn for a little bit. But as far as my personal preference, I really like Adam Gase as a candidate. I know a lot of people are not kind of fond of him after his work in Miami. I think if you go throughout his entire resume, so to speak, his work with quarterbacks is pretty damn strong. Like I said, he's probably learned a lot from his experience in Miami. I'd be interested to see what he can do in Green Bay. That's just me. Heard Mike McCarthy is the favorite. Nice. Who do you got winning the championship tonight? Oh, man, it's hard to pick against Alabama, right? I have a really good buddy who was a backup QB on Clemson's squad years ago, so I always pull for Clemson. But, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Alabama's so good. Gase for OC? Christopher, I guess it's a possibility. You could definitely take a step down. I tend to think he'll probably end up getting in a head coaching job, but you never know. We'll see. Maybe if they bring in Flores as the as the head coach, maybe they go with Gase at OC. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. What kind of salary do new head coaches make? Nick, it will probably greatly depend on their experience, where they're coming from, what their resume is, etc. That'll be negotiated by the agent. You would think, Mike McCarthy left. He was one of the higher paid head coaches in the league. Although, top echelon of the head coaches are making around $12 million. Anybody they hire, I doubt, is going to be making anywhere near that. How horribly bad was the officiating last night? Craig, I got to admit, probably in the minority here, but I didn't think it was terrible. I thought the one call where they really lost it in regards to that fumble and the whistle, etc., that was pretty bad. The optics were bad there, but for the most part, as a whole, in total, I didn't think it was that bad. And that says something, because it wasn't great, but for the NFL, for what we've gotten used to, last night wasn't terrible. And that's kind of scary. Does Jeff Janis get an interview? Matt, I don't doubt it. How do you not give the favored son an interview? Let's head over to Twitter, see what people got to say on the old tweet machine. James starts us off with, ever planning to put the Packers Daily audio onto your podcast feed? James, why, yes. Yes, we are. Now that the season is over, we can get to these little tasks that we've been meaning to get to. Had a meeting with Corey just this morning about the offseason ahead for Cheesehead TV, and that is definitely on the list. So soon, you will be able to download my meandering nonsense into your favorite podcast player. God help us all. Andrew, do you see the Packers cutting Jimmy Graham this offseason? I don't, Andrew, simply because I think the cap hit would be a little bit too much to bear. That's not to say they won't. Maybe they go that route, but they signed him for the 3-year deal. When they structured it, it was pretty clear that they wanted the out after the second year. That's how a lot of free agent deals are structured these days. I think they'll keep him around for one more year. Can you tell us anything about the offensive line that the Packers drafted? Oh, the O-lineman that the Packers drafted in 2018 but never showed up. Cole Madison is who you're speaking about. No, I've talked about it before here on Daily, talked about it on Twitter or mentioned it briefly on Twitter. All we can say, no, there are rumors, but nothing I'm going to say out loud without knowing it for sure. It's a personal thing. It's a personal matter. As far as the Packers' recompense, that is yet to be determined by the league, but I'll be surprised if there isn't some news on it prior to the combine. Meaning what happens with that pick and the Packers, not specifically about his personal situation. I think the key to Aaron Rodgers returning to form is getting him to take what the defense gives him. Saw a good style of that with Indy on Saturday. Run, check downs, and take a shot downfield from time to time. Will the next head coach be able to do that? Well, Paul, I think that's a big part of what they're probably going to be asking guys in the interview process. If it is an offensive guy, what is your plan for Aaron Rodgers? If it's a defensive guy, who do you have in mind to come bring in and work with Aaron Rodgers? But I agree with you. It's interesting. My buddy Zach over there at the Packers Wire just put up a tweet that really spells it out in regards to the Packers. And this isn't just Aaron Rodgers, and I've been hard on Rodgers, but this is also Mike McCarthy. The Patriots over the last X number of games have featured the running back exponentially more in the passing game than the Packers have. Some of that is Tom Brady taking checkdowns. Some of that is by design from McDaniels. The combination certainly illustrates the disconnect between what you're talking about in regards to if they're playing coverage, hitting the guy immediately and letting him get some yardage, etc., and or designing something to get him free underneath coverage, rather than pushing everything downfield and then not taking the check down if you're Aaron Rodgers. So I think a big component of getting Rodgers to play within a system is going to be very important. And can it be done? Absolutely, 1,000%. Don't forget, Rodgers is in a very similar spot to where Brett Favre was when McCarthy was hired, and people thought Favre was done when that transition was happening. And then lo and behold, McCarthy basically got the best out of Favre that we had seen in a long time. So I think Rodgers is in a very similar situation. Obviously, their personalities are different, but Rodgers has all the talent necessary to continue being a upper echelon quarterback in the NFL. It is a question of fit, and I am fascinated to find out who that will be, as is the rest of Packers fans. Craig starts with, or only says, the Bears still suck. And it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue with everlasting truths, which is what you've tweeted here. Thank you for that. Let's head back over to the chat here. Will the Packers interview Cliff? Peter, that's a good question. The news coming out today that Kingsbury is no longer tied to USC and will be interviewing, I believe he is interviewing today with the Jets. I guess it's possible. I have heard absolutely nothing in regards to the Packers having any kind of interest in him, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So time will tell. When do some hires start to take place? The agony is killing me. Maha, calm down, chill out. It's probably going to be good, a couple, at least a week yet. Although maybe we start seeing some hires I would say a couple days, but I doubt that. I think you got to let the playoffs play out a little bit before we really start to get dominoes to start to fall. Any chance Violet Nagler hosts a Transplants one day? Maybe not a Transplants, but she is hard at work on her own YouTube channel. So you got that to look forward to. Can the Bears replicate 2018, or did they catch a lot of good fortune this year? It seems they missed a golden opportunity. I mean, you never know from year to year. Where you really want continuity is on offense, and Nagy with Trubisky there, and a lot of the plethora of weapons they have should help in that regard. They did absolutely, and no Bears fan will probably admit this, but they absolutely found a lot of fortune this year as far as from week to week, opponent injury-wise, etc. But that said, they are absolutely legit. That defense was scary good. Yes. Did they blow an opportunity? No question about it. Anytime you lose a home playoff game, you've blown an opportunity. Packers fans should know all about that. But as far as will it carry over from one year to the next, I think Nagy's going to have a big part to say in that. And I believe, looking at what he did in his first year in Chicago, I think they're going to be a problem for a couple years here. Do you think the Packers go after the Baltimore Ravens GM as a head scout? Nick, no, they'll be hiring one of the Ravens scouts, though, Milt Hendrickson, who is an old friend of Brian Gutekunst's. He is coming over to be assistant GM, essentially, as reported by Bob McGinn. I think you're saying they just got lucky this year. Daniel, furthest thing from the truth. Did you miss the words, they are legit? Words coming out of my mouth. Some of the Bears reaction videos on YouTube are pretty hilarious, though. Oh, David, don't think for a second that I did not marinate in Bears fans' tears last night. In fact, I did text my good buddy Dan Katz over there at Barstool just to give him a little grief because, that was delicious. Pick number 12, do we go elite offensive tackle or elite edge? Really depends on who's there, doesn't it? I mean, I know guys specifically today started announcing their intentions to enter the draft. We'll see how the tiers fall out. But if that's the choice, say that's where they land, I go OT myself. Got to keep Aaron Rodgers upright. I still think they hang on to Bulaga for one more year, but nothing wrong with grooming somebody and getting an offensive lineman that you can plug in and play for 10 years. I'm all about that. Do you think the Bears still suck? Thank you, John. Boomer Esiason called Rodgers a head case on Saturday's pregame, warning coach candidates. I disagree. Boomer's a radio guy now, and he's saying stuff for shock value. I mean, I've met Boomer, I've interviewed him, I think he's a nice guy, but what does Boomer Esiason know about Aaron Rodgers inside the locker room or inside the facility in Green Bay? Not a whole heck of a lot. So, I mean, maybe there's something there. Boomer played at a high level, played in the NFL for a long time, played that position, so he's, more than welcome to voice his opinion and have it heard, obviously, but I don't really think that's much. Depressed Big Cat is gold. You got that right, Nicholas. Serious question. What the hell does bear down mean? Felipe, that's brilliant. I have no idea. I mean, it's really easy to say go Pack go, right? Because it's pretty obvious. But these Bears fans get on there like before a game going like, oh, bear down. Isn't that a bad thing? I hear you, man. I hear you. I have no idea. I'm sure a Bears fan would be able to tell you. Thankfully, I am not one of those. And I go play the Bears Still Suck song. I should, shouldn't I? That's a good idea. I want Matt LaFleur if McDaniel's deal falls through. Mike Witt, duly noted. I will let the powers that be at 1265 Lombardi know. Post haste. Bears still suck. What I love, too, is that if you just put that into Google, that YouTube video is the very first thing that comes up, like for the rest of our lives. There we go. There we go. Not as bad as the Skull chant. I tend to agree with that one. What else we got here? Double up on linebacker in round one, please. Be good. I mean, again, it all depends on what the tiers fall like positionally, and then two, who's the coach? What's the scheme? We don't know that yet. Next, did you see Eagles fans Venmo money to Cody Parkey? Yeah, Garrett, and then I also saw a bunch of fans create fake Cody Parkey accounts to try and get that money. There it is. So good. Play it forever and ever. I love it. Jack Del Rio, does he make any sense? I'm surprised that he isn't getting more play this run by anybody, any team in the NFL. But I haven't heard anything. Certainly hasn't been reported yet, but we'll see. Maybe he shakes out. Maybe they go through another wave of interviews, and maybe his name pops up. This is my jam. Nice. Hey, Aaron, are all the potential head coach candidates known now? Surprise possible? Anything's possible. In this day and age, it's really hard to keep things under wrap, especially with agents wanting to get their guys' names out there. But it's always possible. Never know. Josh McDaniels sucked in Denver, so why would we sign him? I don't know, Nate. Bill Belichick sucked in Cleveland. And I'm not saying he's Bill Belichick. Just saying. The NFL, second acts have been successful at times. So, Pete Carroll wasn't great his first time around. Won a Super Bowl. Just saying, man. Can we sign the top-rated head coach and then trade him for draft picks? I mean, they could. They won't because of the whole we're finding the guy who best fits the Green Bay Packers organization. But you could. They won't. Do you think they cast a line towards Nick Saban? Nah, I doubt that. I don't see that as a fit. But, again, never know. Maybe that's the surprise. Any chance Reggie McKenzie returns to Green Bay, and if so, in what capacity? I would doubt it, but you never know. I mean, with Gutekunst bringing in his old buddy, Milt, from Baltimore, that fills the void, or the perceived void underneath that upper echelon, so to speak. I can't imagine McKenzie coming back to be an area scout and or just to take over some kind of spot that's been made for him just because he needs a job. Maybe they end up going that route, but I think he'll look for work other places. Does anyone remember Belichick bailing on the Jets? Oh, it was a brilliant moment in NFL history. Do you think Josh McDaniels will back out? No. Best rock band of the 70s? Whoo, man, that's a tough one. Nick, I wasn't ready. Von Miller, big capitalize. No. I mean, I put it up there as a joke, kind of, that they might trade both their first-round picks for Von Miller because John Elway certainly left the door open that a trade is a possibility for Miller, but I'd be very surprised if Gutekunst went that route. Do you think Banky is more passionate about LiveX or Cheesehead TV? Oh, LiveX. LiveX. LiveX 1,000 times over. I mean, Cheesehead TV is great, and we're picking up steam here, but LiveX is his baby. No question. Do you think the Eagles will go all the way to win the Super Bowl? No. Led Zeppelin. Yeah, Zeppelin's good. I like Led Zeppelin. I'll go with that. Will McCarthy be a coach next year? Yes. All right, that's all the time we got. Thanks a lot, everyone. Just a quick programming note for everybody here on the old chat, and if you're watching us later, etc. Packers Daily now in the offseason, at least through the draft, will be live Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 p.m. There will be nothing, will be dark Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, unless, and this will be eventual, unless there's breaking news, then I will go live in some other capacity. It won't be here in the studio, but as far as these studio shot Packers dailies, they will be Mondays and Wednesdays. So that means no daily tomorrow. We'll be back Wednesday at 5 p.m. In the meantime, make sure you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of it, because that's where we are, because we want to be where you are. Packers fans worldwide, we're devoted to you. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great night.